Thanks to Anker SOLIX for sponsoring this video.
I wouldn't say that this is the best weather for like being outside and camping. I don't know, I like it sometimes, but it's wet, it's cold, it's snowing. But what is good to do right now, even though the weather is like this, is to prepare for the spring and summer for whatever you want to do, whether that's being outside, you know, for a picnic, do you want to go camping, overlanding, or even if you don't want to go outside, you want to stay home, there's products that can help with that. And that is where this one comes in. This is the Anker SOLIX C800 Plus, and at first glance, this might look like a regular battery, and well, it does all those things. I'll talk about it more in a second, but this has a few tricks up its sleeve that make it different than any battery I've used before, and if you want to be outdoors, if you want to do camping, this just might be the battery. That brings us to what I think is the key feature of the C800 Plus, and that lives right under here. You just push it, and it reveals the three-way camp light kit. And these are two lights and a pole that actually work together so that if you're at camp or you're outside and you need some light, you can have it. Plus, there's also a light right here up front, which other Anker SOLIX batteries have had before that I absolutely love, just to give you some ambient light around whatever you're doing. But this thing is cool. So basically the way this works is you get this pole that will extend to pretty tall. And what's nice about this is that on the end, it has this magnetic ball where the lights will attach. But it doesn't need this. You can take this off and use it for other things like a camera, anything that has a 1/4-20 thread, this will work for. And then that attaches to that is the lights. And it comes with two of these that work in a few different ways. So you click it on once, it is a flashlight. You click it again, it becomes kind of a more ambient mode for, you know, lighting up camp. And you click it again, and it's more of a lantern. And if you hold it in, it will make it brighter or dimmer. And this is pretty sweet. And what's even better is if you turn it off, you put it back in, and it recharges the batteries on these lights. And even though these lights are pretty small, they actually have a ton of energy inside of them. At full brightness, they can go for 8 hours. So this will easily work for any camping situation you have. And then to put them to use, if you want to use these around camp, you just take the pole. There's a place here that says place pole. There's a 1/4-20 thread inside. This just screws in. Then you take your light and place it on, and you now have ambient light around. And if you want it to, you know, illuminate even more, you can lift it way up, and now you have a camp light. So this is a really versatile, very functional feature that lives right inside the battery. Something I've never seen before. It's a killer feature. Well, now that I showed you that super cool feature, there's a lot more to talk about, but snow is really coming down. So let's head back inside and I'll tell you everything else. Now these lights are super useful and they definitely come in handy, but at the end of the day, this is still a portable power station, so it needs to be able to, you know, function as one, and well, it does. So this is a 768 watt-hour battery inside and a 1200 watt output with 1600 watt outputs for that surge if you have something that, you know, kicks on a little bit and needs a little bit more juice. So that is a ton of energy at your disposal. And in order to use all of that, well, you need these plugs, and as you can see, there's a ton of them. What I like is that Anker SOLIX seems to have focused on having more AC ports, and well, I like that. There's 5 of them here, at least in my experience. Maybe yours is different, but in my experience, whenever I'm using one of these portable power stations, I end up almost always exclusively using the AC ports. So for instance, when I'm camping, we like to power an electric blanket at night. During the day, sometimes depending on what we're doing, we like to use Starlink, which plugs in over AC. We've also brought things in the past like a projector with us so we can watch movies while we're out camping. That plugs in over to AC. And because this has that 1200 watt, well, I can power all of those very easily without even worrying. But if you need to power other things that aren't AC, well, you've got that covered too. There is a 100 watt USB-C port, which is great for charging things like your laptop. I mean, I could power my MacBook Pro fully, you know, get a full speed charge with that port, which is nice. But there's also next to it another USB-C port, and this one's at 30 watts. So if you're charging your phone or, you know, a drone, there's gonna be plenty fast for that. And then you get 2 USB-A ports as well.
And you also get a car socket, so you know those old cigarette lighter type plugs, you have that there. And basically those are all the ports I'd ever want or need for output, and I can charge or power really anything I can think of, especially when I'm on the go, but even if I'm here at home. And with that capacity, there is a lot of things you can power, and power for a surprisingly long time. So if you're someone that loves coffee in the morning, well, you can power a coffee maker at 1,000 watts for like 42 minutes, which is, that's a long time, but if you needed to, you could. If you want to take an electric stove with you, well, that's an option now. At 800 watts, you can use that for 50 minutes. Or if you just want to keep it simple, recharge your phone, you can do that up to 49 times with this battery. So basically, that is to say, there's a lot of power packed into this, even though honestly, it's pretty small. But what's great about that, I mean, that capacity we've had in other batteries, but what's nice is how small this thing is. It comes in at just 20 pounds, which for a battery like this, that's not too bad. And it makes taking it with you much easier and not so much of a chore. I've had much bigger batteries than this that, you know, the capacity is great, but I don't necessarily want to carry them around because they just take up a lot of space and they're heavy. But this is kind of the best middle ground of giving you the power that you need, but also being small enough to want to take it with you. This can easily function as both your, you know, recreation battery, but also your emergency battery. You know, power outages happen, things around the house happen where you might need power. For instance, in the past, I've been doing construction in a certain area that didn't have any lights. I could pull this out and power it with my bright video lights. It's a pretty neat feature. Now, all of that is great, but equally as important as powering things is recharging the battery itself, because as soon as it runs out, well, you're out of luck. But luckily, there's plenty of ways you can charge this up. The easiest is just plugging it into a wall. This is using what they call hyperflash technology to recharge it, and basically at a power outlet in your wall, you can recharge this thing from 0 to 100% in about 58 minutes. So super fast. I mean, less than an hour to get a full charge on this huge battery. And with that hyperflash tech inside, that's actually going to let you charge this 17% faster than other similar capacity batteries out there. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. But if you're out and you don't have a wall outlet, you can use 300 watts of solar input with this. That's a great feature to have, and Anker SOLIX has solar panels that you could use with this if you wanted to. And using solar is something I have done many times to recharge these batteries. You know, you're at camp, it's a sunny day, you're just kind of hanging out. Why not use the sun to recharge your power station? So overall, I think this is the sweet spot for power stations like this. But there's one question that I see a lot of people have about these, and it's just like the longevity of them. These are batteries after all, so there will be some degradation after a certain amount of time. But these are using lithium iron phosphate 4 batteries inside, and Anker SOLIX is using what they call infinite power tech in here. Basically, it's just monitoring what the batteries are doing up to 100 times per second, so you're not going to have any issues with temperature. These are impact resistant, so you know, if you drop them, which may happen, it should be fine. And the you know, the electronics inside are made to be very durable, so nothing happens. And they're saying this should last 10 years. And with the battery chemistry inside, that makes sense. 3,000 cycles should be what you're able to get at this before you see any degradation. And well, I mean, that's a long time to wait and see how this performs, but just based on, you know, how batteries are, that does make sense. And Anker SOLIX is trying to make that a priority. And at the very least, there is a 5-year warranty on this, so if anything does happen, you're covered. So yeah, Anker SOLIX has been making a pretty big dent in this market in the last few years, and their products just keep getting better and better. And with innovations or, you know, new ideas like these lights that can be built right in, it just makes sense. And it makes choosing one of these kind of a little bit of the easier option, because you just get cool features that honestly I've never seen anywhere else. So if you want to pick up one of these for yourself, I'll leave links down below where you can actually sign up for the pre-sale. You'll get $150 off and an Anker charger with the purchase of one of these. So all that info will be down there. But after seeing what Anker SOLIX has done with the C800 Plus, I'm excited to see what else they might have up their sleeve.